In this session, we're going to look at the Tabulate 2.0 functionality. Tabulate 2.0 introduces the option to represent query results directly from Discover reports in addition to the formula approach seen in Tabulate 1.0. To demo this new option, we'll use these two discoveries. The first Discover shows promotions by two different metrics over 2 years. In the second Discover, we have the same promotion in a grid with 4 different metrics. Let's start by importing Discover 2 into our tabulation using the Tabulate 1.0 formula approach. If I click on each of the cells, there's a formula behind every value. Each cell's formula independently queries the data source, retrieving and displaying values cell by cell. This approach is effective for creating autonomous analyses where the metric values change rather than the attribute selections, like the list of promotions in this example. Even so, users can still manually manipulate values by changing attribute elements. So changing this to the cost metric, for example, will affect all the related cells and retrieve cost values for each promotion rather than their original margin values. If I come back to Discover and change the original report, you'll notice that there is no change in Tabulate since it's completely detached from the source Discover report when using the formula approach. What the formula approach gives us instead is complete flexibility on what to do with the data, layout and logic. So here, for example, I'm inserting rows, breaking up the effective query, reformatting things, and I can even inject spreadsheet formulas that use the query's results. In the second example, we're going to bring in the first Discover report, but this time we will use the Tabulate 2.0 direct method. With direct, the query is retrieved and added to the spreadsheet. Except, you'll notice that there are no formulas. Instead, the results are injected as static values directly into the worksheet, similar to an Excel pivot table. In fact, if I change the structure, format, or change the values of the query range, and then refresh the Tabulate and the query injection, the engine resets the entire spreadsheet with the query from the original Discover and puts all the static values back with its formatting. In effect, the spreadsheet is tightly connected to the discovery and doesn't allow structural changes to the query. However, there are obviously advantages to this direct approach. First, we can use drop zones in Tabulate to reshape the query results directly without needing to adjust the Discover itself. These changes will not be adjusted unless there is a change in selections in the Discover. Now, if I change the underlying Discover, we'll see the changes reflected in Tabulate. So here we added the year 2024 and our spreadsheet changed. Then, if I add another metric, we can again see that the underlying result inside the Tabulate has also been adjusted and changed. The second benefit of the direct approach is that any changes to the axes in a query will get reflected in Tabulate, something the formula approach does not handle. So for example, if I added a value filter on the promotions attribute for the top 5 based on quantity, when I come back to the Tabulate, I will now see the top 5 promotions in my result. This shows a change in both the number of promotions and the listing of which 5 promotions are returned. Of course, what's nice is that we can blend the two approaches together to get the best of both worlds. So, for example, I'll come back to the formulas on sheet number 1 and do some formula manipulation to look up the promotions from sheet number 2. Setting up all the items here with the same logic by copying it down, you'll notice that we are seeing these reference promotions driving the other formulas on the sheet and their return values. Next, if I come back to the original Discover and change the definition of our value filter, say by choosing the top 5 based on the happiness metric, we'll now get a different list of promotions. Then, we can return back to our Tabulate and see that our direct query result has also been updated to reflect this new change selections in the row axis. Last, when we go to sheet number 1, our formulas are referencing the new promotions listing, and they in turn are driving new return values from the formulas, which are referencing these new items that have just been adjusted. This is a great demo of how to blend both techniques, using the benefits of the formula approach and its flexibility with the direct approach and its ability to automatically update and reflect the underlying query results. It is the best of both worlds.